Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and to continue our early train theme, today I'm going to build the BrickLink designer program, Old Train Engine Shed. Yes. Now last time we were in the Lego room playing with our new track setup, watching the Zeppelin blow its way around the passenger track like a rat running around my carpet. We had the problem of how to accommodate it in our city alongside the 4 main trains which congest all these 4 platforms, as they will be, of the new central station. And my first idea was to have this beezing around the whole track in a loop and then reversing into kind of a 5th track in between numbers 2 and 3 in this setup. But then on the edit and in the comment section for that video, we had a much better idea, which was just to have a spur anywhere else on our track, like here. And then it could easily, when it was done, kind of reverse right back up into position in, well, let's say an old train engine shed. So that would be the final position for that. And then when it's on tables, I think this will be a bit further away because we'll have a bigger loop. It'll probably be about where the curve is now. And it won't stop any of the other trains when we go back to the normal configuration just going past, because they'll be going that way towards our left through that set of points there. So unless they decide to reverse and go back into the train shed as well, they'll go by and leave it without any need to change that point ever. So I figure that's a really good idea. Not only that, but the old train engine shed might be where a historical group is restoring such an old and interesting train, or maybe it's a mad scientist or goodness knows what, but I think that's absolutely perfect. So I think I'm going to build this set as it is in the instructions first of all, but I think I'm definitely going to have to change probably that second track layout and probably the ballast and all the rest of it, because I think it's too high to match with my system at the moment. But yeah, I think I'll build it unfettered first, and then we'll see what we have to do to it to get it in my city. But it's going to be pretty easy to attach it in either format to this setup on the carpet while we're planning, and then it should prove my concept. I just hope it's long enough for our Zeppelin train, because it is very long. Anyway, right, propeller on, and off we go. Good. Well, this is my first BrickLink designer program set, and I'm very excited indeed. It'll be really interesting to see how it differs from regular sets, if you can tell that it's been designed by, you know, a member of the public, though it's been combed over, I think, by the professionals, so it should be exactly the same. Inside the box, we've got the same sort of numbered bags, box within box and so on. I'm very happy to see that we've got 2 green base plates and not the bright green, because that is exactly what I'd be moving it onto if they didn't. So yeah, that's really good, saves me a bit of bother. You don't get any instructions on paper. You do get the nice flyer, which is well worth keeping nice and smart, with the details of Maria, the designer. Very clever indeed. So that is a very nice piece, but we've got a link there, so I'll be having that on my screen and using that instead of a paper copy. You never know, it might give me a bit more room to build this huge beast. And then just thrown in loose was our sticker sheet, so I'm really glad that didn't get mangled, because it really could have done. And these are the all-important bits, because there's only a few thousand of these in the world. So yeah, very nice. We've got some what look like papered over windows. It's annoying that they are all the exact same picture. They could have varied that a bit. I mean, they've already got printed ones from sets in the past, like the Haunted House, was it? And maybe one of the sort of baddie dens or whatever. We've got a clock face, which surprises me a little bit, because you would have thought that that piece is 2-sided and there'd be 2 clock faces. So I'm a bit confused by that. Usually you have that double-sided clock, don't you? A ticket, some striping, which I think is for the doors, and then these yellow pieces, which must be for the sort of gantry crane on the inside, with 50 bricks worth of strength. So yeah, that's very good. A bit surprised about the clock. We'll have to come back to that. And the only other surprise, well, we've got a few of those bags with the bigger pieces in, as you often get with these sets. But I was looking for some track pieces, some straights basically, and instead we've got these single rails in dark bluish grey. And if you look at the pictures, it does actually show that they are that and not the regular track pieces. But well, that's not going to connect with my existing system. And surely 99% of people would. I mean, it's an easy swap, but I would have thought you'd have done that with train track pieces. So I'm probably going to have to pilfer some from my setup, which I can ill afford. It will shrink as a result. But yeah, I think I might make that one change when I build this, because otherwise, well, it's not going to connect and we're not going to be able to have the Zeppelin pulling in. So yeah, okay. Right, well, I've got all the bag ones out, so I better find those instructions and get started. Okie dokie, well, one bag down and we've got our outline. It's all looking very impressive and large. I think we're going to have a nightmare dovetailing this with our train system that we've already got. In fact, I think anyone would. It's not just my system that'll have a problem with. And as I said before, it's marrying these single rails up with the modular track pieces, in that it might be fine with a train just going clack clack from one system to the other if they were lined up like that. But the distance horizontally, when they have to be sort of this close, means that all these connecty bits and bobs and this sort of extra little sort of half stud is going to completely get in the way and prevent them joining up neatly at all. Now, I thought I could get around that by basically not using these at all and just having a sort of short section of regular track in this build instead of it. But there's a nice big train observation sort of inspection pit for the entire length of this train shed, which is very nice, and the train tracks go either side of it, meaning we can have a nice bit of space in there for men with tools and so on. So I do want to keep that, and having all of these sleepers across would, well, interfere with it quite significantly. So that is a real problem. The second problem is that we've got 3 plates underneath this track. So basically it's quite raised up above the base plates. Now in my system, I only have 1 plate underneath the train track, because even with that, it's a huge amount of bricks for the amount of train track they're going to be in my city, and I don't want to raise the whole system up by another 2 plates. It'll cost me a fortune. So I think whatever I'm going to do is probably going to have to go uphill just a little bit to get into this train shed, because the only way that that's not going to be the case is me getting rid of the entire observation pit and just having regular track on the ground, which might be what I have to do in the long run, which would be a real shame. But yeah, it's a bit too early to decide at the moment. I mean, it might be that we can't really see the observation pit, so maybe it's not so much of a problem. But another thing did strike me, actually, and not that I'm trying to sell their wares even further, but Tricks Bricks actually do have a solution to this. They basically make terminators. No, not that kind. No, pieces that basically terminate with a flat edge. So you can get these in 3 different sizes, and one edge of the track piece has the normal connector to connect with the normal system and so on, and the other has the flat edge that would connect with something like this. So it might be that when I do my next Tricks Bricks order or something like that, I get one to basically go on the end of here, and then I can connect with this. And then I've only got the slight incline uphill problem to deal with, which we disguise with lots of puddles of slime, which incidentally comes out of this corner and this corner, implying that there's a great big lake of it underneath here. But yeah, I could disguise that uphill slant with a lot of these little pieces here and plants and whatnot. So I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. So I'm going to keep building and keep thinking about that issue, but I do think there are ways around it. After bags 2 and 3, you can really start to see some of the detail now. It is a lovely, clean view on the inside, all this tiles, and it was going to be a real shame to get rid of this inspection pit, I think, so we must do everything we can to keep that. I really like the thick walls that are 2 thick all the way around, but 3 thick near these windows, and it really adds to the kind of age of the building, if you ask me. Looks very old indeed, and if that wasn't obvious enough, you've got all the different colours of the brickwork on the outside, from the more dry sections through the wet to the downright mouldy and moss covered in the corner. I really like that. It's been great fun to build. They're fairly complicated, actually. It's not a set for kids, I don't think, because a lot of these colours are very similar on the instructions, and I've made a few mistakes already and had to go back and change what I did before. So yeah, I really like it. Very clean adult set. We're starting to see the attachments for the doors here. Yeah, I like it. A couple more bags in, and this is really starting to shape up. I'm loving the interior. It's got a lot of kind of similarities with the old train engine shed 10027 from 2003. But I guess that's unsurprising. There's only so many ways you can do a train shed. It's essentially 3 walls, a great big door and loads of tools. But the tools are next level. We've got a couple of helmets on here. I don't know why they didn't use a proper welder's helmet rather than just the goggles here, because they're really good looking. We've got sort of an oxyacetylene tank thing here, a massive industrial sized fire extinguisher, a moving chest. Another little toolbox made out of bricks here, which I like, with a sort of carrying handle and a 2 sides that would fold out. That's a nice build. Some drawers here, a really nice drill, hard to pull out because it's kind of firmly attached, but a desk clamp. And my favourite is the lathe, which is absolutely great. It's got the moving section, so it technically works, that goes on here. And they've even got this part being worked on with the screwdriver piece aligning perfectly, so it looks like it's been cut into, and you can wheel that in and out, and it looks absolutely great. A really good chunky size, much bigger than the one that was in that original train shed set, so I really like that. And there's a new piece on me. That's a Technic 1x1 with a hole in it, obviously, and this is kind of a little rubberish bung that kind of fills up the hole. You get a spare one, so that's good. I can play around with that, but it's just kind of got the width of a Technic pin on one end, and then, well, a great big orange button on the other. So yeah, I can use that on all sorts of builds now. I'll have to put that on my wanted list and get some of those. It's going to make making arcade machines really interesting as well, if that is a new button option. So yeah, really like that new piece. I'm not entirely sure what you'd use a pickaxe for on a train, smashing into the side of things a bit crudely, but yeah, otherwise really good. I've started using the stickers, just used 3 of those kind of newspapered over windows for when there's cracks or drafts perhaps. And the weird thing about them is, as part of these units here, they're great from the outside and they're put on the back, so you've got this sort of recessed window from the outside perspective. But on the inside, well, you just see the back of the sticker, and it doesn't quite fill the glass piece, so it looks a little odd in my opinion. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know why they didn't use those existing window pieces that are tan in colour, that have already got the newspaper printed on the outside, and then at least it'd be a solid tan window on the inside. I don't get why, when those existed, we resorted to sticker use. But anyway, not too much of a biggie. When this is enclosed, I doubt you'll ever notice, but it looks really good on the outside. Love the tools. I'm really interested what this kind of annex building is on the outside. I haven't really looked at the pictures yet, so I don't know. Yeah, might be a little kitchen or something, who knows. Well, you need somewhere to make tea, don't you? Almost entirely enclosed now, with 3 of the walls complete, including 6 of these rather magnificent windows. I'm getting a bit tired of building them though, so I'm glad there isn't any more. We've got some impressive plants on the front 2 corners here, which look very interesting indeed, on the moist patches, no surprise there. Still don't know what that is on the back yet. We've got some really nice lighting on the outside and inside and all along this side. And then we've got that clock as well, which I think, I don't know, it might get hit by a train on this track. It's a bit near, but then again, if it's incredibly close but doesn't quite hit, then that's exactly my style and I'll like that a great deal. Worst being the worst, we'll just turn it 90 degrees and it can come out this direction. I still think it was a massively missed trick not making that a double-sided clock. But we've got our opening now enclosed as well, and we've got 3 minifigures. We've got this old guy who's clearly the president of the Zeppelin Train Restoration Society, or Zuttersock as I like to call it. Very catchy indeed. We've got this guy with some tin snips there, and he's cut some metal parts that are clearly going onto the train, and he's got a tank on his back, which is quite interesting. I'm not quite sure what that's for, and he's also missing a leg. You can only imagine that that was a horrific train-related incident, can't you? Given where he works. But yeah, we don't talk about that. Definitely don't ask him or look at it too much. Then we've got this young lady with an old school sort of train lamp as well, with the glass on all 4 sides. So that's really cool as well. Very retro. So I've already made one change actually to this set. That second part of the lathe was falling off every 2 minutes. Every time I moved everything around, it was getting annoying, and that's going to be even harder to reach in due course when it's right at the back there. So I basically replaced 2 of the 1x2 tiles with 1x2 jumpers, and now it's held in place in position, so it works just as well. You know, you could move it a little bit nearer if you wanted to, but it's not currently spinning, so I like that. So that's my first amendment. And the other thing I wanted to do while we were at this stage was actually get my Zeppelin train and see if it is a fit, because my train is very, very long indeed. So there we go. Let's push it all the way in and... Ooh, oh, it's close, but it doesn't quite fit. Now, if I move the lathe, it might fit. Or maybe when we get the doors on, it will just be kind of interesting that it's got its nose sticking out. I don't think that is the end of the world. In fact, if anything, it makes you kind of look and peer inside to see what's going on. So, yeah, I think it's the perfect home for both the Zeppelin train and the Zeppelin Train Restoration Society, Zuttersock. Well, with every extra bag we open, we add a load more detail. It is absolutely packed and stacked. And that's what makes it absolutely perfect for Brick Nottingham. I love it so far. We've got this lovely guttering along the top and this drain pipe down the back, which is causing the puddle, which is causing the moss. So it all makes sense. I really like that sort of almost story to the age of the building. They should arguably be restoring the building a little bit before restoring the train. But anyway, looks really good and it's finished off nicely at the top. You can just see over the top of that lip the crane gantry, which just slides along. It's kind of like a little vehicle really, with these lovely 50 bricks stickers on. Must be sort of 50 tons. And this chain holds onto the hook, which is just slightly too low. I don't think it's a real problem, but you would want to wear a hard hat if you were a minifigure, because you can actually brain somebody by scooting this along if you're not careful. So that's really nice. But probably the best build so far, sub-build, has been these lovely green doors. They're very clever indeed, sandwiching in the middle of sort of three plate and tile levels, this set of three garage door pieces that kind of, one of those descending garage doors. And yeah, they're just kind of loosely held in between this back layer and this front layer with a surround of the middle layer, if that makes sense, with this sticker on the outside. And it's not the sort of build that you'd see in a typical Lego set, because I think it's a bit too flimsy. It wouldn't pass Lego quality control for being played with kids. But for this sort of adult build, I think it is fantastic. It's so clever. Really interesting use of all the different greens to represent all the chipping paint and all the rest of it. I like it a lot. I think these could have been printed. I think I might even have some that look very, very similar that are printed in my collection. But yeah, and because of that clearance, they do kind of hit each other just a little bit when you open them. Kind of open them together, it's a bit easier. But they are relatively flimsy when you're building them. And this sort of boat tile is the only thing that's holding two bits together, stopping them from sort of splitting apart. But yeah, it's a really good look, so I don't mind that. It's not going to get heavy use. And the fact that it's an old train shed makes a lot of sense for it being rickety, really. So I like it a lot. And I just love the look of this lower observation trench now. It just looks brilliant with all those tools in, all the colour, the crane overhead. Watch your head! It looks absolutely great. Oh, and on the other end, you might be able to just see there is some very old-fashioned air conditioning with a round window with a propeller in it, which I don't know if it's motorised or if it just blows with the breeze, but nonetheless, it looks absolutely great. And it's going to make that other vista even more interesting as well, because I'm going to have this in my city, so you can see it from absolutely every angle, depending on what standing hole you're on, or from the main entrance to the Lego room. I think these doors might be facing the harbour, so you won't see them as prominently perhaps, but yeah, we'll have to play around with those ideas as the plans for my city coalesce. But I think they'll be open actually because of the Zeppelin train sticking his nose out. So yeah, maybe we'll see them after all, because they are a real highlight. Cool. So yeah, very impressed. I think we've got a roof to do and some more stuff outside. Wow, this thing is massive when it's got its roof on. I mean, this is several minifigs tall. I think it might put neighbouring buildings to shame, but yeah, very impressive. I love this great big roof. It's very secure. It all comes off in one great big piece with kind of air vents there and this setup on the underside. Very piece heavy, but very worth it. And you kind of, when you push it down, you kind of put this under a bit of strain. So there's a really good connection there as well. So yeah, I like it. Looks pretty good. And now I've started work on the little shack on the back, and I was right, it is a kitchen. And what makes it even better than that is that somebody is making the tea. Bless them. Dun, dun, dun! It's finished! Wow, that was a long and complicated build in parts, but the outcome is well worth all of that time. That is a really, really good build. The detail goes right to the very edge of the base plate on the front and the back. We've got this sort of power coupling linking up to the shed itself on the wall there, with all this kit at the front on a nice pallet, bushes, and this lovely water pipe which I can use to fill the water tender on the Flying Nottsman. So that's really good. I might move that or maybe keep it there and just have it turned the other way, I suppose, brought a bit nearer to this track. This track I will be pulling up to match all of my other ones in due course, but yeah, all these lovely large pieces will be liberated, so that's good. We've got this fantastic pump wagon. I mean, the use of parts on this set has been absolutely great, used in novel ways that I really appreciate. I mean, this almost belongs in a museum. It's so beautiful. I love that. I mean, the way I build is much more sort of in the Lego style and much more sort of silly and small. So mine has the pump action, as you know, and is really good fun to watch. But that is a work of art. So yeah, the part selection throughout this whole build has been absolutely great. And the detail on the back, we've got the roof on the shack now. 2 more members of the Zeppelin Train Restoration Society. A nice fence, some more kit on another sort of trolley, and a fence and all the rest of it. So yeah, absolutely every stud has been used, with plant growth all over the place. And it is a triumph, I think. I can definitely recommend buying this set. I think it's worth the money. I think Maria has done a sterling job. And the details are just fantastic. I do think there's 2 minor gripes, and they're barely worth mentioning, so I won't labour it too much. There were mistakes in the instructions, just a couple of times, with either the parts combined with the wrong bag, or just the picture at the top not marrying with the picture at the bottom, so to speak. And the second one isn't really a criticism at all. It's just an observation that as an adult set, this has got a lot more sort of rickety sort of connections. I keep knocking the chimneys off, the power thing and things like that, and roofs and so on. But I mean, that's fine because we're not really playing with it. It's not a play set. It is a, well, demonstration set, I suppose, a sort of ornate, lovely thing to have on your shelf or to incorporate in your city, if you're me. And with that in mind, I'm dying to get it on the floor of the new Lego room to test it with my track as we tried before, and that means having my Zeppelin train drive straight in. And with that problem with the track marrying up, I'm going to have to make a temporary measure before I can get that Terminator track from Trix Bricks, and I've come up with this, which is basically going to raise the height just a little bit and kind of connect, so we've got almost a fraction of a stud gap between this flat-ended track and the track system. And I've tried it manually at least, and it just sort of goes to go over it. So I'm hoping that will work when we're in the room. We're going to need a bit of space actually, because it's too close on this side, isn't it? Well, we'll play around with that and see how it works in real life, but I'm really looking forward to that. But the train shed is great. I can recommend it. Well, here it is in situ, and it is really big, I must say. It looks huge compared with a normal sized building for Lego, but it does look very interesting from all different angles. That is the view we'll have from the main entry to the Lego room, the front vista, which is definitely the best, I think. We'll have the sort of lean-to shed and that round window from the first standing hole, and then the second standing hole will have this wall right next to it, I think, with the double doors and the bird's nest and all the rest of it. One thing I've noticed, it's a bit of a shame, well, you probably see it glaring you in the face, is on the roof, the different sort of texture with those different pieces. The 8x16 tiles are kind of dull, and then these 6x6 ones are kind of shiny with almost a circular sort of look to them. So that is a bit weird. It should be uniform, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame underneath my filming lights. But yeah, it still looks great in its temporary position with my temporary ramp at the front. Obviously that track down the side of it will be the passenger track in due course when it's integrated properly. But I want to test my Zeppelin train going into its new home. So I'm going to get that going. I'm not going to do the propeller because when he backs in, it will start chopping up some members of the society. So for this first test, I'm just going to have it going in normally. So he'll be going round and round and round. Should we do one more lap? Why not? Get a bit of speed going. Dun, dun, dun. So he can come out for a nice tour when none of the other trains are going around. And then, when he wants to go home, he'll just stop, put it in reverse, and hey, it made it. Stop. There's no infrared signal through those windows, it seems. But yeah, well, that worked, didn't it? It was fine with the clack clack. I think it will still be better with the proper Terminator piece. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's not too bad. Doesn't derail it or anything. So it works. We have a new Zeppelin Preservation Society HQ for our train. And that's solved a problem. So yeah, I love it when a plan comes together. That is very special. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And we've got an absolute raft of stuff coming up very soon. It's going to be really good fun. So yeah, until next time, see you! Problem solved and looking good.